Hey guys, welcome to this week's video. In this week's video, I'm going to go through and do the 5 first mods that you should do to your MX5. Now these are catered specifically to the MX5 since they are getting on in age a little bit. Some of them are reaching what, over 25 years really. After buying one and doing a major service, these are like the first 5 things that you should look at in my opinion. These first 5 mods might change depending on what kind of driving you do with your car. I'm gonna base this list around the first 5 mods you should do if you wanna drive your car to its limits. So let's get straight into it. So my first mod, which I reckon is the most important modification for your MX5 to begin with, is a roll bar. With these cars being a bit older, they don't have the same safety ratings as newer cars do today. So getting a roll bar in there, something that if you do have a serious crash protects you, especially in sort of like a rollover collision. I see a lot of MX5s getting around with what are referred to as style bars. Definitely do not install them thinking it's gonna do anything. In fact, they actually do the opposite. They can be really, really dangerous in an accident. Make sure you get yourself a good roll bar. Most good roll bars fit around the factory hardtop and the factory soft top, so there's no excuse not to do it. They can be a little bit expensive, but there are cheaper ones out there, especially if you look secondhand. They are very common depending on where you live, but definitely an essential modification if you do want to drive your MX5 to its limits. Modification number 2 I would highly recommend is getting yourself a good set of coilovers. With most of these cars being older now, the suspension is definitely a little bit worse for wear in most cases. Getting yourself a new set of coilovers or even a used set of coilovers can really liven up your MX5 and can make the driving experience a lot more pleasurable. I myself have a set of MCA suspension XR series coilovers, which where I live in Australia are a good value for money, but good quality coilover. But depending on where you live and depending on what's available, BCs are sort of worldwide and they're fairly good, or you can get up into your more motorsport sort of level. Must have modification number 3, 100% has to be upgraded brakes. I, on my MX5, have the flying Miata Wilwood big brake kit installed. The reason I went for this is because the factory calipers were seizing up, they were getting a bit old, so I just thought I'd go all new things. Upgrading your brakes can be as cheap and as easy as upgrading your pads and rotors and getting some stainless steel lines. Upgraded brakes is definitely one of the things that I would go for because they're the things that you want to rely on if you're going to drive your car, especially on track. I know the Hawk brand is very popular on the MX5 community in the stock calipers, and I know if you do have an earlier model MX5, you can put the NB8B sport brakes onto your Miata, a direct bolt-on kit, and they're a slight bit bigger than the earlier model hardware. So with your brakes, there is an option for each budget range if you are budget conscious. Must-have mod number 4 would have to be a cold side air intake. From factory, the air intake runs across to the hot side of the motor where your headers are and pick up air from this side of the engine bay. What I've done on this is I've got a what we call a cold side air intake, and it effectively moves the intake onto the cold side of the motor. If it makes any extra horsepower, I'd sort of be surprised, but what it stops is heat soak. So if you're on track for a long period of time or you live in a hotter climate, it'll help stop your intake air temperatures from being very high, and it will help cool it down. If you want to go out to the full extent, you can get vents in the bonnet, you know, feeding it cold air from underneath, whatever you want to do. But for a start, I would 100% recommend moving it to the cold side of the motor. Must have mod number 5 on my list, and this is the last one for this video, is upgraded headlights. This is more relevant for your NA and NB Miatas more so than your later model stuff, but NAs especially, NBs as well, they're notorious for having just shockingly bad headlights. So what I've actually done on mine, I've done a HID upgrade. All it is just a HID bulb replacement. Because I have the later model MB8B, it actually means it sits in a projector light rather than a reflector light, which is important for HIDs. If you do have a model of MX5 that has a reflector light, I would more so recommend going with an LED light. They're still very affordable, but you've just got to make sure you're not buying cheap eBay LEDs. You've got to get a good quality LED so that they actually put out enough light. I know the NA MX5s as well, you can actually just get a full replacement headlight, and some of them even have DRLs and a lot of other upgraded things if you really want to go for that. The most important part of it for me would definitely be just getting something brighter, something that, you know, other road users can see you a little bit better and you can see down the road a little bit better. If you have any other suggestions or any other comments, leave them below. Please make sure you like and subscribe so I can keep making content for you guys. It would help me out heaps, and I hope you guys are as keen for more MX5 content as I am. Just remember the BRZ is coming back soon, and you'll see an update on that in a few videos time. So catch you in the next one.